Palestinians breaking bones, shooting children, and demolishing homes, and the expulsion of Palestinian Christians and Muslims from a land they have occupied for over 2,000 years. My premise in prophecy and politics is that Christian Zionism is a dangerous and growing segment of Christianity, which was popularized by the 19th century American Cyrus Scofield when he wrote in his Bible his interpretation of events in history. These events all centered around Israel past, present, and future. His Scofield Bible is today and most popular of reference Bibles. Scofield said that Christ cannot return to earth until certain events occur. The Jews must return to Palestine, gain control of Jerusalem, and rebuild a temple. And then we all must engage in the final great battle called Armageddon. Estimates vary, but most students of Armageddon theology agree that these result of relatively recent interpretations of the Bible scripture. 10 to 40 million Americans believe Palestine is God's chosen land for the Jews. Stupid goy. The goy know. The goy know, we know. Jesuits root for Christian Zionism. Halsell is correct to indicate that Scofield was the most significant popularizer in the history of Christian Zionism. However, the origins of the movement date back to much earlier. The Verlag Trugot Bouts, volume by as translated by Google search engine, reveal the interesting phenomenon of a Jesuit, Roman Catholic secret society priest. Pretending to be a Jewish convert to Christianity. He wrote a text which was first published 10 years after his death, but was then translated into 4 additional languages and produced into many editions, even though it was banned various times by the Catholic hierarchy. BiblicalTheology.com adds the following information. Manuel Lacunza was banished from Chile in 1967 with other Jesuits. Shortly after, he fancied himself to be a converted Jew and changed his name to Rabbi Ben Ezra. Lacunza began writing a book entitled The Coming of the Messiah in Glory and Majesty under the name of Ben Ezra, and finished the book in about 1791. In his book, Lacunza taught that Jesus would return 2 times for the church. His return would be to get his church out of the world, so that God the Father could pour out his wrath. This may be the portion from which came the idea of a pre-tribulation rapture. Lacunza died before the book was published in Spanish about the year 1812. The book never became popular. In fact, it would probably have slipped into oblivion, as many other unpopular books have done throughout the years. However, Lacunza's book somehow made its way into England, where Edward Irving found it in the library of the Archbishop of Canterbury in London. By the way, I just read that super ass small text, so you're welcome. Fuck you. That was fucking hard for me to do. The concept of pre-tribulation rapture is essential to our story, because it is at the root of the idea that the Jews must rebuild the temple in Jerusalem before the rapture can occur, thus leading into uneasy alliance between Christianity and Zionism, which is at heart the Christian Zionist political identity. It is difficult to say whether Lacunza could have forecast the tremendous ramifications of this conceptualization, which was latent in his work. It is remarkable, however, that so much energy was invested in translating and then banning this book with its rather obscure topic, what better means to attract attention. A boost from the world of the occult. Edward Irving and the charismatic preacher who was building a spiritual Pentecostal church. There is some indications that he and his church were involved with the spiritual occult philosophy, although the details are far from clear, which is most likely some Mesopotamian religion from back when, where they're aware of some sort of bullshit. Anyway, The Last Trumpet, Time Warner, cites a letter by Irving in which he mentions visions or revelations given to Mary Campbell by Margaret MacDonald. Quote, the substance of Mary Campbell's and Margaret MacDonald's visions or revelations given in their papers carried to me a spiritual conviction and a spiritual reproof which I cannot express, end quote. These psychic visions, of course, which, if you've read the Old Testament or even the New Testament, they tell you to keep away from psychics, all of the wizards, people that practice magic, this and a third, as it is a change and a sign of the Antichrist, and don't believe in any false messiah or anybody preaching any bullshit, yabba dabba do. So this is where psychic visions, of course, gave substantial reinforcement to the radically new theological content of the pre-tribulation church. The anonymous author of the La Ruche website and crisis.homestead.com quotes Robert Norton and Andrew Drummond as further sources for the belief that Mary Campbell and Margaret MacDonald may have had some interest in occult skills such as would typically be learned in an occult secret society, which, you know what, the real ones, that you don't even know that you're in them, and when you find out it's too late, you think you're dead. So I highly fucking doubt she was doing anything serious, because anything really done is behind closed doors with thyself, and very few, and that's fucking bullshit. I could give a fuck less about the circus and what they think they're doing. Schofield brings along the psychopathic tendency in critique of Schofield's reference Bible and other manifestations of fundamentalism. The modernist Protestant Christian author Bruce Brower wrote in Stealing Jesus, 1997, the Schofield reference Bible looks a lot of Bibles. Each page contains 2 columns of scriptures separated by a narrower column of cross-references. What distinguishes it from most Bibles is that also it contains extensive footnotes. These footnotes add up to a highly tendentious dispensationalist interpretation of the Bible. Sorry, I have fucking cotton mouth. Interpretation of the Bible. There are whole books of Schofield's Bible in which the annotation is minimal, almost absent, but in other books there are pages on which the annotation takes up far more space than the text. Like Jefferson's Bible, then Schofield's Bible is an extraordinarily act of audacity, but the 2 men came at Scripture from utterly opposite directions. Jefferson sought to preserve Jesus' moral teachings and to remove materials including accounts of miracles and prophecies that seemed to him ahistorical, and thus, as Jaroslav Pelikan has written, to find the essence of true religion in the Gospels. Schofield has also sought the essence of true religion, but he located this essence not in the moral teachings of the Gospel, but in the miracles and prophecies, most of them located outside of the Gospels. Jefferson's chaff, in short, was Schofield's wheat. You get it? The Schofield reference Bible was a brilliant idea. Over the centuries, countless theologians had written, dude, I have the worst con mouth, chat. Don't ever think you're ever fucking slicker than me reading, and don't ever think I am pushing out these words, and after I'm done, I'm gonna go drink a fucking smoothie. Theologians had written learned books in which they grappled, and by the way, there's improper dictation, and this is not properly, so I have to properly dictate myself, and the sentences aren't even properly put together, so I'm doing it myself, you pieces of work. Had learned books in which they grappled with the complex, ambiguous, often contradictory meanings of Scripture. But Schofield plainly knew 2 important things about the people he wanted to reach. 1, they didn't read books of theology, but they did look at their Bibles, if only occasionally. And 2, they didn't want to grapple with complexities of ambiguities and contradictions. They wanted certitude and orthodoxy. The Schofield gave them in spades. His footprints never offered up different possible interpretations of the text. Instead, they set forth with an air of total authority a detailed, elaborate, and consistent set of interpretations that add up to a theological system that few Christians before Darby could have conceived of, and that indeed marked the radical departure from the ways that most Christians had always believed. But this is also one thing that gets deep. They're not speaking about the book of Haggai, the book of meditation, or what was really going on, and there's so much really that's hidden in history. It's a fucking, I don't give a fuck. Excuse my French, to say it lightly. And you know what? I know, and they know I know, and you don't know what I know, and that is beautiful, Chad. It's fucking beautiful. Congratulations. So anyway, let's go forth. And that indeed marked a radical departure from the ways in which most Christians had always believed. Yet Scofield brazenly proffered that his theology as if it was beyond question, and he presented it as if it were traditional. As if it were beyond question. And if in any way understanding the true nature of Christian belief marked a radical departure from the true faith, the chutzpah here is mind-boggling. Clearly a major propaganda coup for the fundamentalists, the Scofield Bible became possibly the most important and well-remembered instrument for spreading the Christian Zionist faith. Yet it did not occur in a vacuum, and Scofield was no innocent seeker of the true subtletics of theology. The anonymous website, thehistoricist.com, posted a sermon allegedly by Rev.Nord.Davis, had apparently based on the book The Incredible Scofield in his book by Joseph Canfield. This sermon describes Scofield in terms which, if correct, would unmistakably identify a very serious psychopathic syndrome. Davis claims that funding and support for Scofield's reference Bible project came from a group called the Secret Six, which came and had earlier been involved in organizing the John Brown Slave Rebellion, which touched off the American Civil War, and from prominent Jewish attorney Samuel Untermeyer throughout a Newark literary society called the C.I. Scofield deserted his first wife, Leontine Carey Scofield, and his two young daughters, Abigail and Ellen. He never sent them to any financial support, though he became very wealthy. They never got a dime. A woman in the 1800s did not have a government welfare, and good-paying jobs were not usually available in those days. He treated his wife and children as though they did not exist. A real fucking G. You want to know why? Because you're born alone, you die alone. Do it your fucking self. You do it yourself, you know. And each one teach one. Who knows what he knows? According to every reference, or he might have known about genetics back in the day. According to every reference, I couldn't find him about his background in the areas from which he came, and I found that he was in love with two other women, running with both at the same time, a young lady from St. Louis Flower Mission, whose name I have not yet been able to discover, and to Helen Van Wark, a woman he later married after his wife stayed abandoned for many years. She would not divorce him for scriptural reasons. Finally, when she found out about his activities, she had no choice and divorced him. You know, every time you see a Scofield Bible, you think about that lady as a Christian Mr. Scofield entered the legal and political career. After he was alleged to be saved, he stole thousands of dollars from his Christian and secular friends. One of his financial scams was quite serious, and he got convicted of forgery. Spent 6 months in St. Louis, Missouri jail. He defrauded his mother-in-law of $1,300 in gold. Never paid her back, even though his finances were such he could have done so. Let's keep it on. Let's move on from this piece of shit. And let's go to the Jewish Zionists join the bandwagon of Oxford too. The attempted link of Scofield of the secret... You know what? We can't really talk about this stuff because I'd rather not, and a lot of you don't deserve. Let's just speak about a so-called grand plan. This story, the creation of a politically malevolent, theologically fraudulent, and tremendously popular and influential new religion, has the appearance of a grand conspiracy operating across continents and over a time span of a century. Initiated by a Jesuit masquerading as a Jew, the plot gets an endorsement from the world of occulted spiritualism. Occulted spiritualism crosses to the Atlantic and takes the root in America and becomes more a major propaganda darling So I don't think we should read this. I'm feeling a little bit dizzy as I was reading out loud, chat. So my phone's on 2%. And, you know, I've been staying consistent. I ate a spread today. I don't know. Can someone give me any ideas on what I should go do right now off stream to enjoy it? Maybe I know exactly what I got to do. I'm going to go do some laundry if there's 24-hour laundry spots that are open. Bon frickin', Panda Bacon, Roseanne, everybody, thank you guys so much. All my other viewers, everybody, Cedric, everybody, but if I'm not naming you, I'm a fucking idiot, I'm stoned. Honestly, I have group, like, I don't even know why I'm not naming everybody. Let me just go in my chat real quick, hold my phone is still King Askey, right, like, what the hell, Hamachi, Vanilla, come on, man. Blink, Sir Sweet, Taser, what, Gonzo, come on now. Molly, come on, chat. Vold, everybody, come on now. Alan. Alright guys. Hey, someone shoot me a buck for off the love right now before my phone dies. I wanna buy an e-cigarette. I'm saving up for a ticket out of here. The ticket's like $330, so what I'm making right now, I'm also sort of saving, but I have a little bit of guap saved up. Send me bread for an e-cig so I can chillax. Do you love me as much as you say you do? Do you love me as much as you say you do? Nah, I'm playing. Look at me, my black eye tripping. What the fuck? Dude, I wish I had M's. I would never... I don't know what I would do. It would all be gone. I would give it all away anyway. I'll be giving it away. You gotta do. That's what everyone in my generation does anyway. That's what we're all taught to do, is just give back. Like, what I noticed, a lot of us do at least. Do something, man. My phone's on 2%, bro. I'm asking for someone to buy me a fucking e-cig, bro. I'm broke. Right, I don't have a sub button, so that's why I'm bumming. We don't even have KCIP. Bro, I made some good shit though. My boy Panda Baker showed me some love. Plug your shit in, there's nowhere to plug in. Look at this. Pathetic. Pathetic, bro. Look at my network. Phone half dead. I'm a mess, huh? No, I'm a mess. Alright, I'm out because my phone's gonna die. I'm e-begging so hard. I'm so embarrassed. I always end up just begging off. Y'all show me so much love. I appreciate everybody. I'm already so stoned. All I'm really gonna do is go get a blunt now. Gotta smoke a blunt. Fuck a vaporizer. I got enough. Did you just bait donation? Yeah, you know I'm good at it. No, I'm stoned. I want an e-cigarette. I don't want to spend the rest of my money on. It is what it is. You know what? I don't owe you any explanation, dick.